Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. So, question number one is: as a high schooler, what did you think was so important, but later realized didn't matter as much?
Um, when I was in high school, I guess I thought that who you hung out with and how many friends you had was important. But I think as you get older, you realize that you don't really need to be popular to be happy. You just have to be who you are, and the people that like that will like you.
Yeah. Um, what values do you think are the most important for a person to have?
I think probably and it may be kind of general, but I think to be an ethical person is the most important thing. I think there's too much right now wrong with our society because people just worry about what's legal and what isn't. But I think if you're an ethical person, that'll take care of itself.
Okay. When choosing a career, what advice would you give to young people today?
Well, I think the most important thing is find something that there's demand for. You know, piece together what you're good at with what employers want.
Uh,
Um, Go ahead. An example of that was when I started college, I went into nuclear engineering, and then I found out the previous year there were only two nuclear engineers hired in the state of Wisconsin. So I knew I need better find something else.
so building off of that question, would you say that it's more important to like get a high paying good job that's like in demand as you said, or should you go into something that you're more that would make you happy? Like say art makes you happy. Do you think an art student should go into art or should they go into something more useful like medicine or something like that?
If you go into something that you don't like, you're going to be unhappy, no matter how much money it pays you. You have to, like I said before, find something that you will enjoy doing, that you that fits with your skills, that will make you a decent living. Um, I think that's the quickest route to happiness. There's a lot of unhappy rich people in the world.
That's true. That's a good point. Okay. What makes a good citizen for the local community?
I think someone who's involved in some way in the local community makes a good citizen. I think if you, no matter what it is, whatever you're passionate about, you can take to the local community.
Alrighty. Do you have any advice on the best use of money? Like, do you think, like, for young people especially, when they're going to college and then get a job, do you think their money would be best used in a savings account, going towards more education, buying a car, buying a home? What do you think is the best use of that?
Well, I don't think anybody would argue that the best use of or best investment when you're a young person is to invest it in your education. I mean, there's statistics everywhere you look that tell you that the money you spend now on your education is going to pay you back in the long run. So that's definitely the best way to spend it.
Okay. Were the most important lessons taught to you by your elders?
I guess just try to get along with people that you don't necessarily like, because you're going to run into people your whole life that you may not like, but you have to work with. I think that's a given. No matter what job you have, you're going to have people that you just clash with.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to work with those people professionally is a skill that everybody, I think, can use.
Let's see. Oh, here's another one. What were your biggest lessons you needed to learn as you became an adult? Like lessons that you learned by yourself?
I think just you're better off to take responsibility for your actions than try to avoid it. Because I think the longer you avoid the consequences of your actions, the worse things become. So better to stand up and just face it head on than try to duck around and try to avoid problems.
Let's see. What do you see as like big major differences in teens today as they were when you were a teen?
I just think there's just a lot more distractions today. Um, I mean, not just everybody talks about cell phones and the internet and all of that, uh, and it's true. I think you have to learn how to focus your way through all of that and tune it out. There wasn't so much background noise when I was a kid.
Um, are there any weaknesses in society today?
Yeah, I think the biggest weakness is what I kind of alluded to before is that there's a lot of people out there that are benefiting from other from making other people do worse. The stock market's a good example of that. The short-sightedness of that. A lot of companies are doing things that are not necessarily good for their employees, but they make their stock value go up. So I think that's our biggest weakness is we're too short-sighted. We're not looking long-term.
Um, if you were to learn just one thing from today, and if we were to learn just one thing today for the rest of our lives, what would you want it to be? What do you want teens and me and people to learn from?
I think the
Yeah.
most important thing that anybody can learn is that everyone is basically the same. I think we're taught from a young age that being different is bad, and we're shown that people all over the world, okay, they're different than we are because of this, 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 and this. And I think the more you get to know people from other places, you'll realize they're really no different than we are, and that's probably the most important thing I can think anybody could learn.
As a teen, how did you define success, and has your definition changed over time?
I think I just yes. When I was a teen or when I was just getting out of school, I defined success as being able to take care of myself. And then you change it to maybe having a family, maybe getting more and more successful in whatever career path you've chosen. So I do. I think it changes over time. I think the basics of it don't. I mean, I think everybody just wants to be happy in what they're doing, and I think that's probably what is the common thread through the whole thing.
Well, going off of that, how do you think people have the best chance of being happy with their life? How does that happen?
I think your best chance of being happy with your life is finding work, a career that you enjoy, because you're going to be spending most of your waking life in that job or career. So you better enjoy it, and set your priorities. Do you want to be successful in your career, or do you want to have a family? People say that you can do both, but you have a limited amount of time, so you have to be able to dedicate your time to one or the other. And finding that balance, I think, is probably the most important thing.
Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna take this part out. Okay. Um, what are qualities of a good person?
I think a good person is as simple as the golden rule. Don't do anything to someone or say anything about someone that you wouldn't want them to do or say about you. Just think of other people's feelings before you act, and I think the rest will take care of itself.
Okay. Um, now these are more questions about your childhood and school. Um,
Okay.
do you remember any fads from your youth, like popular hairstyles, clothes? Like right now, it's, I don't know, crop tops.
Um, well, I know leg warmers were big when I was in high school. I never really got that. I wasn't much of a fashion person. Did I pay much attention to it? I don't think I dress much differently now than I did in the '80s. But yeah, leg warmers were a big thing. I'm sure everybody has heard or remembers that. The big hair was big when I was in school. I think the heavier like eyeshadow, like weird colors like blues and stuff like that. Everything's more muted today, which is good because back then that was just really kind of crazy.
Let's see. Were you ever mentioned in the newspaper as a kid?
I'm sure I was. I don't think I had like any front page
Yeah.
pictures of me because I wasn't in sports. I was probably
You were
mentioned
in
with
track.
yeah, I was in track, but with like Spanish club or the math team or all the geeky stuff that just gets a one liner down at the bottom. My name might have been mentioned.
Who were you friends with when you were growing up? Were you friends with like the popular group, the skater group, I guess?
No,
Did you not have any friends at all?
I know it might surprise you, but wasn't really that popular when I was a kid. I didn't really fit into too many specific groups. Most of my friends were in band, which was unfortunate because then they were in a different lunch than I was. But the group that I hung out with, I mean, I think we were a little smarter, but we weren't the most popular. I could pretty much talk to or do anything with any one group, but I wouldn't have called them my friend.
Okay. Give the wind a second. Okay, it's not gonna calm down. How was the world different than it was when you were a child?
I think what kids don't realize today is how, like, when I was a kid, there was always this overwhelming or overriding pressure of nuclear war. The threat of nuclear war was always there. And you really didn't think much about it. Today, you don't really think about it at all. But back then, there was always this conflict with the Soviet Union and the United States. They'd do something, we'd do something. And the thought of war of any kind was terrifying because everyone knew that it would mean the end of everything. So kids today don't really have that to worry about. We have this constant terrorist war, but it's not the same kind of end of humanity sort of threat that it was when I was a kid.
Okay, give me a second. Can we stop right here? No. Okay. Alrighty. So, are there any stories about famous or infamous relatives in your family? Maybe. No, your family's kind of boring.
I think everyone thinks their parents' families are boring unless there's somebody. No one went to jail. My mom's family, they seem like a little crazy. Like my uncle almost danced your mom to death at our wedding. That was he just kept going. He wouldn't let her sit down. She'll tell you that, but yeah, they're just really flamboyant and really like to live big, But beyond that, yeah, I don't think anybody went to prison. I can't think of anything specific.
That's good. That's actually quite good. What do you believe is the key to a successful marriage?
I think that the key to any marriage is communication. It's not just talking. It's knowing when to talk and knowing when to not. That when you live with someone for a long time, you get to understand when they need you to be there and when they want some space. So the verbal and nonverbal communication is probably the biggest, most important part of any marriage.
Good. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, what was your proudest moment as a parent of 2 daughters?
Well, I can't pick which one I'm proudest of, because that wouldn't be right.
You can pick one for each.
Well, I was very proud of the way that you handled, having to move through school faster than other people did. It's not just that you were smart enough, because that was just who you are, but how you actually handled it is what I'm proud of. Because that's difficult. It's difficult, and it's difficult for anyone to consider leaving this group of people that they've known for years to go into another group, and then having to do it again only a couple of years later. So I was very proud of you for that.
Hey.
Carmen, I would say I'm most proud of her and how she dedicated herself to getting her black belt in karate. At such a young age, she knew how important it was to us, but for someone to go through and actually achieve that has to be important to them. And at such a young age, because she was only 9, it's pretty impressive.
What do teens need to realize about their parents right now? Or are teens just always being picked on by the older generation?
I think that teens have to realize that their parents are probably doing the best that they know how to do. You may have complaints about how they handle things, and you wish that they were maybe different. But for the most part, I think most parents are doing the best that they can. And maybe it's not always the perfect things all the time, but I think that if you can understand that they're not trying to be mean and they're not trying to to make you feel bad. They're just doing the best they can.
Uh, of all things that you learned from your parents, what do you feel was most valuable?
Probably how important it is to be self-sufficient. Not that you need, just that you be able to take care of yourself on your own and build your self-esteem to the point where you don't need to have, something external gratification, I guess is the word I was looking for. Um, because I think if you if you can be happy with yourself, then you can make others happy. If you need to have external approval for everything that you do, then you're always going to be looking for it, and that's not good.
Um, and what accomplishments are you most proud of?
Well, I'm proud of I'm proud that I went through college and got my degree. I think that's a tough achievement, especially for me, because I'm sure you're sick of hearing that I had to had to pay for it and do it all on my own. I think it would be harder today to do that. I think things are more expensive, but even at that time, that I was pretty proud of that achievement. And then, yeah, going off on my own right out of college and moving to a strange city and getting a job, I was pretty proud of myself for being able to do that.
Building off of that, so you went to college. What did you go to college for? And well, besides nuclear
Engineering.
engineering, besides that, what did you actually end up deciding to go into? And are you glad you made that decision?
I went from nuclear engineering to mechanical engineering, which is what I ended up getting my degree in. And we had talked about it before. I'd gone through the statistics, and I realized that even in nuclear power plants, which there are two of in Wisconsin, they hire more mechanical engineers than they do nuclear engineers. The nice thing about mechanical engineering is you can do a wide range of different things, and for me, it gave me a lot of flexibility in where I wanted to live and what I wanted to do. So yeah, I'm happy with my choice.
If you could have picked any other profession besides, your engineering of any kind, would you have, chosen
If I
a
hadn't
different
had
one?
to worry about getting a job or making money, I probably would have gone into history because I love history. I know it's weird because you don't, feel the same kind of passion about the past. But I mean, I did the classes I did in high school. I did the best in my history classes and social studies. I mean, I really enjoy it, but practical application didn't really see it.
Yeah. Alrighty, on to more things. I don't know. It's no longer in this weird category. I'm editing that out.
Okay.
Not what you just said, but my awkward. Alrighty. Um, is this still going? Hold on. Is this still going to? Let's see. What is one thing that you want people to remember about you?
I think, yeah, I'd like people to remember me just as being good at what I did. You know, you want everybody wants people to like them. Everybody wants people to get, want to get along with people. They want people to be happy to see you. But I've always had this drive to just be good at what I do, and have people recognize it. Not be he's okay, but be like the person that you go to if you want this kind of problem solved or whatever you have in my job. So yeah, I think people will remember me as, yeah, he was good. He's better than the guy that we hired to replace him. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why can't we have him back? That's what I want people to remember me.
Um, as of right now, what are your favorite things and why are they your favorite? Like, this is kind of a stupid question, but I want to know. Um, like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite thing to do? And why? Just why? Don't
Wow.
laugh at my question.
Well, I like to travel, and a little contrary to maybe some of the other people in the family. I like going places where there's interesting things to see, not so much just a beach to lie on and get sunburned, which is what would happen to me if I didn't wear massive amounts of sunscreen. So I love to travel. I love to see and experience things from the viewpoint of the people that are there. I mean, to me, maybe that goes back to my, love of history and that type of stuff. Um, what were the other things?
What's your favorite book?
Oh, I mean, throughout time, I mean, one of my favorite books, and it still is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I know you're sick of hearing that. The movies, I wouldn't say that the movies that they made them into were my favorites. But like, when I was a kid, probably Star Wars and those movies were my favorites, and they still kind of are. There's a certain nostalgia to them that nothing has really replaced as like, this is my favorite of all time.
Who's your favorite daughter?
I don't think I have a favorite daughter. I can't answer that. I don't have one. You guys are so different that there's no way I could say, you.
Obviously, it's me.
Okay.
For the sake of this project, I am your favorite daughter.
Okay.
What are you most glad that you did? Like, after college, after you got your job, after that, what are you, like, glad that you did in adulthood? Like, that you didn't miss out on it? Oh, no, let me rephrase this question. I'm going to edit this part out. How do you word it? What are you glad you didn't miss out on as an adult?
I don't know if this answers the question or not, but when, before I graduated from college, I went and I took a 3-month internship in Finland. So I lived in central Finland, which is like probably one of the most remote places on earth. I worked for a train car factory, and basically I lived with and like the people in that place, and I got an opportunity to really understand the people. And at the time, I was really happy that I was able to do it, and I still am, because it's something about me that most people couldn't identify with because they've never experienced it.
What do you regret not doing as a kid or as an adult, or you know?
Yeah. Do I have regrets? I don't. That's hard, because I've gotten everything that I said that I wanted out of life. I think I've pretty much gotten. And and I'm lucky enough that I'm in a situation where if there's something that I really want, I can have. Um, I think it's hard. It's hard to say that I regret not doing some things, because it's part of who I am. I wish that I could be a more social person than I am, but I'm not. And I've recognized that I'm not going to be someone that can that is going to be like the life of any party. I could regret that, but there wouldn't really be any point to it. But I do wish that I could be more that way. Um, but it takes a while for people to get to know me, to get to understand me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I answered the question or not. Big regrets in my life, maybe that I didn't have the courage to like go into a field like history or something like that would not have been, made the most money, hadn't been the easiest to find a job. Follow a passion. I guess I've never really done that. I've had a passion and followed it. I've always thought things through and gone, no, that's not going to work out. So maybe that.
Let's see. I feel like there's another question that I was going to build off of that. I don't remember, but there is another question, and I don't remember that one either. Let me think of another question, because I like this. Oh yeah, I remember. How have the events in your life built up to where you are now? Like, I don't know how
Where
to
we're
say it.
sitting now.
Yeah.
Um, well,
Oh, is that a stupid
yes. I
question?
mean, I think my decisions to go out of high school into the field that I went into in college got me a degree, got me a job in Chicago. I was there for 4 years. Realized that it wasn't for me. Wanted to move back to this part of the world because I went to high school in Wanakee. Um, I the degree that I chose enabled me to get a job in a completely different field than I was in down there. So it allowed me that flexibility. My passion for theater got me involved with the local community theater, which is where I met your mom. So we got married. My desire to have children, and your mother being so much older than I am and unable to have them, got us to the point where we decided to adopt. Um, and we adopted your sister, and then we adopted you. So those choices have really kind of framed my life the way it is right now, for sure. Because I think I would have changed jobs several times if I hadn't wanted to create a stable environment for my family. Um, we live out here in the country because I like being away from people. I don't like having people right next door to me. So I think that that's part of what has driven where we live and how my life is. So I think everyone's choices drive how their life ends up. I mean, almost every person where you are today is based on choices you've made in the past.
Okay, and to wrap up this interview, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay, good. Thank you, Daddy.
I had
time to think
about that one.